Hello everyone, and welcome back to the SBRE. We're going to do a recap of the Netflix 2021 movie, The Unforgivable. In today's video, we're going to follow an ex-murder convict as she fights tooth and nail to be reunited with her lost sister. Make sure to watch the video till the end so you don't miss out on anything. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy. The movie starts off with a series of flashbacks, fading into the present. We see a man burning something, a child crouching down, and an older woman banging on the door. The flashback fades into the present and we see our main protagonist, Ruth, collecting her things in prison. She had been serving a 20-year sentence for killing a cop and was being released early for good conduct. On her way out, she was given a $40 note and was accompanied by a parole officer who explained all the rules to her freedom. On the other hand, another girl named Catherine gets involved in a car crash and is hospitalized. The camera angle changes, showing another man who has a picture of Ruth. He follows them as they leave. The parole officer further offers Ruth to find her a job, to which she refuses, stating she already had a job in a carpenter shop. He still insisted that she take the card anyway in case she needed it. The officer dropped her off at Chinatown, with a reminder that she must meet him at the same place every Tuesday. The building is dingy and loud. As Ruth enters, she is shown her room, and her roommates look less than trustworthy. In the next scene, we see that the man who followed was Keith, who went to meet his brother at his job. They were both kids of the cop she had killed. Keith is furious at her early release and tries to convince his brother to take matters into their own hands and get revenge for their dad. His brother, however, tries to convince him otherwise. He outright refuses to have any part in any scheme Keith is planning, claiming he has a wife and a child to look after. The scene shifts to show two young girls, Catherine and her sister, watching cat videos. While their parents chat in the hallway, as the conversation proceeds, it becomes clear that the mom is worried about something. More specifically, they are worried that Catherine may have read some letters from her sister Ruth, which caused her to be distracted and have an accident. In the shared house, Ruth receives a call where someone whispers, "Cop killer," to her. She slams the phone down and later gets into a fight with one of her roommates who was rummaging through her things. On the next day, she wakes up with some flashbacks and heads out to the carpenter shop to start her new job, where she finds that someone had come by to let the owner know of her past, making him rethink his decision of hiring her. She takes up a job at the seafood packaging company. She continuously tries and fails to find her sister, and as a last resort, she decides to visit her old home where the incident separated them. The scene shifts to a family where a woman is seen peeking out of her window. She points out to her husband that a girl is standing out front. The husband cautiously approached Ruth, who looked lost. She claimed to have worked on the house a while ago, and the man, John, graciously invited her into the house. She stays to talk for a while, but constant flashbacks of her past make her panic and leave. John then offers to drive her, where he confronts her lies. She opens up to him about how that house belonged to them and how she is now looking for her sister, who was lost in foster care. Taking pity on her, John offers her his card and says he would do his best to help, but days later, we see him ignoring her calls as he finds out about her true identity. The scene shifts and we see Catherine and her sister Emily talking about Catherine's flashback, and Emily suggests if she was curious about her past. But Catherine bluntly shuts down the comment, expressing how she has no interest in knowing who that woman in her dreams is. Ruth also manages to find a second job as a carpenter renovating a community center for the homeless. She gets another flashback where the cops are chasing after her and her sister, and when she comes to reality, she nearly attacks her coworker Blake, who had decided to visit her unexpectedly in her workplace with a new coat and donuts. In a last desperate attempt, Ruth visits her lawyer John and promises to tell him the full story if he helps find her sister. In Ruth's old house, we see John's wife find out about Ruth's true identity and confront her husband, warning him to keep away from their family. The scene shifts to a bar where Keith and Steve are seen enjoying themselves until a police officer informs Steve that his brother had been asking about Ruth. We see Steve furious with Keith for not letting the matter go. In return, Keith provokes him, pointing out how she moves on with her life without an ounce of guilt, how she has a new job, a man, and how unaffected she is, unlike them. One morning, Catherine's foster parents get a letter from Ruth's lawyer. As it turns out, John had indeed decided to help her. In the next scene, we see Steve visit Ruth's workplace at the homeless center, where they briefly interact with each other, but Ruth is in a hurry to meet her parole officer at 11 o'clock sharp. She absent-mindedly answers some of the questions that Steve asks her, and when she asks how her life must be hard without her parents, she simply replies, "Life goes on." That both enraged Steve and motivated him to get revenge on Ruth. Ruth realized that Steve is not with the delivery company and becomes weary of him. but he smiles and leaves the place. We later see him hiding inside the building, and as soon as Ruth leaves, he goes up to check her diary, where he finds a note written to Catherine and a picture of her when she was a child. He takes both the old photo and the diary. Ruth, on the other hand, was confronted by her parole officer, who ridiculed her for trying to find her sister, stating that the girl was better off not knowing her convict sister. Later, we see him revealing his plan to his brother on how he intended on taking revenge on Ruth by hurting her sister, due to her, what she did to them. Unaware of the new turn of events, we see Ruth enjoying a breakfast date with Blake. She finally feels like she can rely on someone, but she gets uncomfortable when she hears Blake talk highly of a police officer in Seattle. When their pancakes come, she can't get herself to eat, getting flashbacks to the time when she and her sister were chased and cornered in a restaurant. She later reveals that she was a convict of 20 years and that she had murdered a cop in the past. Blake freezes after hearing the news, and Ruth leaves the restaurant in tears. In the next scene, we see Catherine's foster parents arguing about what to do with the letter. Her mom says they should face the problem and hear Ruth out, while the dad is set on avoiding confrontation. Unknown to them, their daughter Emily hears the whole conversation. After revealing the truth to Blake, Ruth gets attacked by a cop's son at her work. She gets badly injured and loses her phone when she drops it in a puddle. She does her job and avoids talking with Blake, who tries to talk to her. She later meets her parole officer, and she gives her the good news that Catherine's parents had called and requested for a meeting. He also suggested she freshen up and make herself presentable. On the other hand, Emily skips school and searches her parents' bedroom for Ruth's letter. When she finds the most recent ones, she searches for more letters in their basement. Later, the scene shows her crying as she reads through a series of letters. Happy beyond words, she sees her as she attempts to hide her bruises before going to John's office to meet Catherine's parents. The meeting does not go as well as John had hoped. The parents are entirely against Ruth meeting Catherine, especially since she doesn't remember anything of the time when she was 5. Ruth gets more desperate and aggressive when she realizes that they never told her sister about her letter or who she was. She nearly attacks them as they leave. And finally, John tells her that this is all he could do for her. Frustrated beyond words, we see Ruth destroying all the furniture she had built in the homeless shelter. The next day, she is concerned by Blake, who apologizes to her for getting the word out and how he didn't intentionally mean any of it because he himself was a convicted man let go only a year earlier. Ruth can only helplessly watch as a potential friend walks away from her life. She goes on with her life until she gets a phone call from who she thought was Catherine. It was actually Emily, who reached out to her after reading her letters. Emily arranges to meet Ruth in a public place where she tells Ruth about Catherine and her interests. She also tells her that Catherine has a rehearsal performance and she should go see it if she wants to. When Emily leaves, she is followed by Steve, who was keeping an eye on the conversation. Seeing this as her chance to talk to Catherine, Ruth desperately reaches out to John to see if she can go alone or if he would need to accompany her. When the scene shifts, we see Steve going into his house and finding his crying daughter, but he turns to the bedroom to look for her mom. He is greeted with the sight of his brother and his wife together in bed. Enraged, he beats his brother black and blue before stepping out of the house. He then goes to his family and retrieves his father's old gun. But when she turns to his office, he's not present there. She decided to visit his house hoping to find him, but she is greeted by his furious wife, who demands that she leave their property at once. They argue for a while, and Ruth begs Liz to call John once so she can meet her sister. In the middle of the argument, Ruth lets slip that she had to take the blame because her sister was just 5 years old. Finally understanding the severity of the situation, Liz asks Ruth to explain, and it's revealed that it was actually 5-year-old Catherine that shot the cop who was sneaking up to their basement. Liz offers to drive Ruth to the recital. In the car, we see Catherine with a nose wound that she got from the backfiring gun. Upon realizing that her sister doesn't remember shooting the cop, Ruth decides to take on responsibility for the action. We see Catherine peacefully eating a pancake with her back to the window, as Ruth surrenders in the background and is arrested. When Ruth reaches the place of the recital, she gets a call from Steve telling her that he has her sister Catherine. She immediately goes where he asks. Liz sits in the car and calls for the police. Inside the storage place, we see Steve force Ruth to her knees. That's when she realized that Steve had mistaken Emily for Catherine and kidnapped her instead. She somehow manages to talk Steve out of committing the crime. Not long after, Steve drops the gun. The place is surrounded by police, and both Ruth and Steve are arrested. Emily's parents get a call and rush over. Later, Ruth's parole officer releases her, and she sees Emily with her family. There is another girl among them who she recognizes as Catherine. When Catherine sees her, she immediately makes her way over to her and hugs Ruth, following which she gets a series of flashbacks of when Catherine was young, and upon their reunion, the film ends. That was it for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed the video. What are your thoughts on this movie? Would you watch it? Let us know in the comments below. You can also add which movie we should recap next. Also, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.